Questions about how some in the media are handling President-elect Donald Trump, with indications some journalists are refusing to, quote, normalize him. Our own Howard Kurtz, the host of Media Buzz, has this take. To be normalized would be to be treated as just another president-elect putting together his cabinet and White House staff. A normalized process would involve skeptical coverage, aggressive coverage, but would fit within the template of previous transitions. What those who decry the normalization of Barack Obama's successor are really saying is Trump is not a legitimate president and doesn't deserve to be treated as such. Joining us now, our media panel today, Kelly Riddell, columnist and commentary writer for the Washington Times, and Elvira Salazar, anchor of MegaTV News. Kelly, do you see indications that significant numbers of reporters out there in the mainstream media do not want to normalize the president-elect?
Yes, and it's just a continuation of what they did in the general election, but they called it a different name. They called it false equivalency, in the fact that you couldn't compare Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump was, he could blow up the republic. Jim Rutenberg at the New York Times actually wrote a column about this and justified his own media reporters, his own political reporters' bias against going hard against Donald Trump. So this is just a continuation of the liberal elite media trying to intellectualize their continued bias against Donald Trump.
Elvira, do you see it the same way?
Well, my main concern, I would say, and speaking from the U.S. Spanish media, is the Latinization of the U.S. networks and in this country, because we are not here to be moral judges. We're not here to be dictating to the voters what is it that they have to think. And my main concern is that the news outlets and the news media could be becoming more Latin Americanized, and we know about that, and we do not like that scene.
For viewers who might not be familiar with what you mean by that, give us a little bit of elaboration.
What I'm saying is that the media outlets are serving their own interests and not the voters. In this case, like you were saying about the normalization, I think that we, like in Latin America, we do not have to be moral judges. We don't have to be dictating moral lectures to the voters. Mr. Trump won by 60 million votes. The country has spoken, and we are no one in the news outlets to be saying to the voters that they were wrong or that they were right. And in Latin America, where my parents come from, that's what's happening. That's what's happening, or that happens very often. So we have to understand that not only we're talking to the American public, we're also talking to emerging democracies. We're talking to Latin America that looks at the U.S. press or the U.S. media outlets with respect, with admiration. We copy the American School of Journalism. So what's happening here is sending a message, not only, like I repeat, not only to the U.S. voters, but also to Latin America, to Asia, that look how we cover elected officials or politicians in the way that they would like to. Yeah. So this could have a lasting effect, not only for us, but for other emerging democracies.
Just try going on Venezuelan TV and criticizing the government there.
Absolutely, and look at Cuba. Yeah. You have to see that press is one of the pillars and one of the bastions of democracy. And if we are, and it's very good that we are so robust and so strong, but we got to be very careful because we have a very big responsibility. And that responsibility, Cuba press, Venezuelan press, North Korean press would love to have the power and would love to have the reach that we have with voters. And that responsibility brings, that power brings great responsibilities.
Kelly,
that's my take.
You note some ironies in the fact that reporters have sort of changed their tune over time about Donald Trump, the former candidate, now president-elect.
Yes, I mean, in the primary, in the GOP primary, you had liberal bloggers like Jamel Bouie who basically said, Donald Trump is a moderate, and he's a better fit for the presidency than a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz that are real heretics. They're really going to take this country in the wrong direction. Jonathan Chait at the New York Magazine basically wrote a piece on why liberals should embrace Donald Trump, saying that, real threats again are Cruz and Rubio, and that there might be some good that comes within a Donald Trump's presidency. The day after the election, Jonathan Chait tweeted, he goes, "I think this is the worst day of my life." I mean, what a melodramatic turn. This is not being truthful. Jamel Bouie, after the election, just wrote an article last week in Slate saying there is no such thing as a good Trump voter. So 60 million Americans out there who voted voted for Donald Trump, not one of them is good in his eyes. Yeah. It's just the hypocrisy is unbelievable.
And Kelly, sticking
and
with
we saw that. I'm sorry.
Well,
yeah, we saw that in Spanish media in the U.S., not MegaTV. Sorry that I interrupted you. We saw that exactly what she was saying. We saw it in Spanish television in this country, not MegaTV or other Spanish outlets. We have to understand and we have to remember that immigration, deportation, NAFTA, Mexico was one of the core issues for the Trump presidency. Nonetheless, we understood that we needed to stay in the middle. We needed to cover things as they were coming. Right now, there is terror in the immigration, or in the, I should say, in the Hispanic community, because we really do not know what Mr. Trump is going to do. But nonetheless, we got to stay in the middle, and we got to cover. We're storytellers. We're just reporting what's happening, not telling the voters what to think, including the 70% of Hispanics that voted against Mr. Trump or in favor of Mrs. Clinton. And that 30% we need to preserve, and we need to give everybody in our community, I should say, a fair chance to look at Mr. Trump the way he is, not how we imagine he is going to govern.
And when media question the legitimacy of this new incoming administration, Kelly, it only feeds, you know, people in Portland who go out and burn things down because they're unhappy that their candidate didn't win.
Yes, I mean, if you watch CNN, which some of your viewers may do, you'll know against General Flynn, the Islamophobia comments that the panel makes about him, calling him a Islamophobe. With Senator Jeff Sessions, all they want to do is talk about the 1986 confirmation hearings and nothing that he's done since then, and what a civil rights activist he has been. This is just further dividing our country, and it's fear-mongering, and it's something that the press, instead of calling names, should actually look into these people's records, and also look at the fact of the matter that Donald Trump is interviewing a bunch of people across ethnicities, female, male. He's having a Democrat, Tulsi Gabbard, over today. So he's definitely trying to get the best people for his cabinet, and that's something that should be praised.
Kelly Riddell and Maria Elvira Salazar, thanks for being our media panel today.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.